Last week, during Shavuot, I taught from a new book by Rabbi Daniel Hartman called Who Are the Jews and What Can We Become? Clearly, if I'm teaching on it more than once, it's stuck with me. As a brief summary of the themes, Rabbi Hartman teaches about the qualities within communities, the qualities of pluralism, tolerance, and what he calls deviant. Each of these qualities must be in balance with each other for a community to be in a healthy relationship with itself. Too much pluralism, and you have moved into relativism where everything is okay, even if it harms others. Too much intolerance, and you move towards totalitarianism or authoritarianism where you cannot even question ideas or actions. He teaches that deviance is a category that can change over time. So there is even balance of tolerance and deviance, which allows a society to grow, change, and have new perspectives. Things which were once deviant might become tolerated or even normative, such as women wearing pants, while things which were once tolerated might become deviant, such as harassment or racism. For the Jewish community, Rabbi Hartman offers the lens of two covenants. What he calls the Genesis covenant and the Exodus covenant. Genesis is peoplehood. You are a Jew because your family is Jewish. Doesn't matter what you do, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. The Exodus covenant is the practice of Judaism. Jews behave in certain ways because of mitzvot, commandments from God, because of community expectations, because to be a Jew requires something of you. These two covenants are historically ebbing and flowing, but always balancing with each other. Sometimes the balance comes from the outside, such as with anti-Semitism, which doesn't care if you practice Judaism, you are still a Jew. Sometimes it comes from the inside, such as conversion, which necessitates certain behaviors, practices, and beliefs be wrestled with in order for someone to become a Jew. But we are always both a people, Genesis, and a religion, Exodus. So I've been thinking recently about what we, as Genesis people, might owe to each other. I grew up with the notion of communal pride, but also with communal shame. When a Jew won a Nobel Prize or was honored with fame or an award, the community owned them. Look at what Jews can do and become in this world. Didn't matter if that person was practicing Jew. It might not even matter if they owned their own Judaism. If they brought honor, we wanted to claim them. Conversely, if someone was splashed on the front page of the paper for being a criminal, especially guilty of financial crimes, this brought shame to the community. This played into the negative stereotype that Jews were greedy and money-grubbing. And here is Bernie Madoff arrested for a Ponzi scheme. Never mind that most of his victims were also Jewish because of the Jew-to-Jew relationship of trust. He brought shame and was a stereotype realized to be true to us Jews as a whole community. This sense of communal ownership is due to Genesis Judaism. We are together, alike, one, related, because we are a Jewish family. But the lesson from my community was also, you have a responsibility to the community, because your actions can bring communal pride or communal shame. That expectation was an Exodus expectation. We are bound together as a family, which necessitates behavioral expectations. Like a superhero of our Marvel movies, whether we like it or not, it was true. Actions of other Jews might affect us, and our actions might affect other Jews. A burden and a responsibility. Fair or unfair, it has been seen as at least partially true throughout Jewish history. So what is it that we owe each other? Is there some kind of loyalty owed by virtue of the fact that we are Jews? Is that right? Is that racist? Can it even be enacted if we wanted to? Generally speaking, I don't like the term loyalty. If someone is asking you for loyalty, they probably don't deserve it. But perhaps one is loyal to something even though it hasn't been asked specifically of you. On the other hand, oaths are somewhat like loyalty, and we do swear oaths towards the Constitution with certain jobs. We make oaths or vows towards our marital partners. Does being born a Jew or created a Jew by choice necessitate you into loyalty to other Jews just because? What might that really mean? Here in Omaha, we have a very unique Jewish community. We seek to be in relationship despite denominational difference. As a community, many of you support or help support more than one part of the Jewish community, which enables all of us to succeed and prevents us from viewing the other synagogues as competition. But we still have strong differences, whether it is in creating a Jewish communal statement after October 7th attacks or choosing to show up in each other's spaces for communal programming. Each clergy and each community makes choices to be loyal to the Jewish community of Omaha and balances specific customs and differences. And each of us is asked to compromise for the sake of the community. But what about the larger Jewish world? Do I owe loyalty to Jewish strangers from New York, Cleveland, Israel, from Morocco, France, Australia? We may have very little in common. We may not even speak the same language. We may have different theologies, different Jewish customs, not even recognize the Jewishness of the other. And yet, somehow, when you're on vacation and you meet other people and you discover that they too are Jewish, you feel more connected, a slightly closer bond, even a sense of trust or in-tribe towards them that you don't have with other strangers on your trip. Is that just me? I learned that from my mother, so maybe that's not how everybody experiences the connectivity of Jewish strangers. Maybe you connect more closely with other types of strangers. Now, this sense of connection, this doesn't mean that we automatically like each other, agree with each other, or even want to be friends. But there is a baseline connection, a starting place for a conversation. So if I feel an innate connection with people simply because of our Genesis Jewish family nature, what is my obligation to them? If it turns out that they behave appallingly, say, are they like any stranger? You tolerate them until you can get away. You confront them if you feel safe in doing so. You call the authorities if they are behaving illegally or dangerously. Or are they like family, where you perhaps protect them from themselves, make excuses for their bad behavior, or protect them from the intolerance of others? I see this question of Jewish loyalty and obligation playing out right now. People tell me they feel disconnected from community because we are too pro-Israel. People tell me they cannot be part of our community because we are not pro-Israel enough. People say, because I am a Jew, I stand with this Palestinian protest. People say, because I am a Jew, I stand with my brothers and sisters in Israel. I feel connected to Israel, and I mourn the loss of her citizens killed on October 7th and stolen as hostages because they are Jews, because they were attacked as Jews, because it didn't matter if they were peace activists, soldiers, rave attendees, or Muslim Bedouin. They were attacked because they are part of the Jewish state. And I also feel connected to shame and to rebuke when I see destruction caused by Israel. Is it my obligation as a Jew to stand up for Israel's right to defend itself? Or is it my obligation as a Jew to stand up against Israel and fight for her to behave with ethics and morals as I understand my Exodus covenant? What is the space for pluralism and tolerance? What qualifies as deviant? What behavior by Israel is deviant? What behavior by Jews who in support or in opposition are deviant? What does it mean for us as a community to be loyal or disloyal to other Jews because of their loyalty or connection in reciprocity? I don't have answers to these questions, but I would ask that you think about them and help share your answers with me. I am very disturbed by the Jewish community seeming to be fraying because of a litmus test around Israel. What is our future as a people if we fail to see the Genesis covenant in each other? And yet, What is our obligation to red lines of our own tolerance, our own limits, if we compromise our ethics for the sake of unity or for the sake of communal peace? I don't know where the line should be. I don't know that we all need the same line, or perhaps this is precisely what pluralism helps us find. But I implore you, if you find yourself thinking that your community no longer welcomes you, I implore you to have a conversation, to reach back out in obligation that the community not go astray or leave you behind. Reach back out. You might find others who feel similarly, or you might find a reason outside of this one disagreement to reconnect to the community in spite of disagreeing about this important issue or that one. Rabbi Hartman's teaching on Genesis and Exodus covenants implores us to find a balance between them, to know that sometimes we find ourselves in relationships just because we are all Jews, even if very little else binds us together in action and belief. And sometimes we must seek out the communal ties. We must do the work of being loyal, not blindly, but with commitment, so that we can strengthen our connections and continue to feel part of the Genesis covenant ourselves. We are Yisrael, the people who struggle with God and with each other. We are Jews because it is who we are born to be, and we are Jews because it is who we choose to be. What might we owe to the community, and what might we ask in return?